Uganda is a small and beautiful nation in East Africa and has been a poor country for a long time. However, to meet the demands of the growing population and economy, Uganda has needed economic investments. The government planned to upgrade and expand its only airport, Entebbe, to make it a regional hub. Uganda then started looking for possible loan suppliers to obtain the amounts needed for this project. They finally found China as a supplier who agreed to finance the $200 million for the expansion facility. Although the deal seemed very beneficial in real life, it was a larger and more cunning deal from the Chinese to become a superpower. Things were going smooth with the construction of Entebbe Airport when in 2020, Uganda faced a global economic crash. The government tried to reverse a loan agreement with China in a desperate attempt to renegotiate the contract in early 2021 as it had repayment conditions. The Chinese bank rejected and refused to allow any changes in the original deal. Uganda found itself unable to make payments. Therefore, China took over the airport on loan default. Uganda loses its only international airport to China as it fails to repay the loan. China has established an active involvement across Africa since the 1960s. Trade between the two countries has increased significantly from $1 billion in 1980 to $128 billion in 2016. In 2000, China makes itself Africa's most prominent creditor by providing loans of $143 billion. In 2018, China also offered Africa $60 billion for development funding until 2021. However, through a combination of aid, loans, and grants, China's funding strategy is an attractive option for African countries. As the US and European nations have limited their funds in Africa due to the financial crisis, China promised to invest more in Africa. As other Western countries deal with accountable democracies, China deals without any present conditions. China has invested considerably in big infrastructure and industrial projects in Africa and is an attractive template to Africa due to its fast and booming economic growth. China has made significant entrance into Africa under the Belt and Road Initiative and is invested in 52 out of 54 African countries, out of which 49 countries have already signed MOUs. The African Union has also signed the MOU on BRI cooperation with China, which formalizes Chinese investments in the country while smoothing the investment process. However, China continues to push its presence in the countries that have not signed MOU or expressed their support. From emerging trends in China's Belt and Road Initiative, many concerns from the local population and African government have turned into complete blown conflict. There have been many disagreements among African countries on Chinese projects, with the kidnapping and harassment of Chinese workers working on projects across Africa. Local protests have also been increased against Chinese projects. Nigerians protested the lack of compensation for demolished buildings to construct the railway line. In Uganda, local traders protested over the presence of Chinese traders, blaming them for setting up small businesses rather than becoming serious investors to move to Uganda. When over 2,000 people in Tanzania were forced to relocate, they protested, which led to the suspension of Bagamoyo Port by the Tanzanian government. To accommodate mining activities in Madagascar, Chinese enterprises suggested demolishing churches and schools, which erupted in local protest by Madagascar locals. Another protest in Lamu over the environmental and economic feasibility concerns resulted in the halt of a coal power plant despite the support from the Kenyan government. In addition, Kenya has launched a claim of mistreatment by concluding that the Chinese have created a small kingdom where Kenyan workers are being discriminated against. Ghanaian fishing community claimed that 90% of its fleet is now owned by Chinese who operate using Ghanaian persons in front, as the local law prohibits foreign companies from working in Ghana's fishing industry. African countries also canceled and postponed significant projects. Due to poor safety and environmental compliance, the Zambian government has withdrawn a Chinese company license to operate coal mines. After discovering that CNPC was dumping excess crude oil, the Chad government shut down its operations of CNPC. The Gabon government has withdrawn the license for oil and other fields due to environmental blunders and anomalies in paperwork. Over the raised concerns of the rising debt trap, the Ugandan government has postponed the construction of the Kampala-Entebbe Expressway. Growing trade between China and Africa has led to the loss of many jobs in industries that could not compete with less expensive Chinese imports. The evaluation of developments in BRI concludes that the economic factors benefit China despite its investments overseas. African countries are much concerned that China is using the BRI to fulfill its objectives and that China is aiding more from its assets than the host countries. Most of the developments under BRI help create infrastructure and industry in Africa. They are precious for Chinese companies in bringing labor and materials to Africa. The laborers involved in industrial projects are few African locals. However, most of them are unskilled, while the skilled labor is mostly from China, with positions such as managers and supervisors, and Africans have no chance of advancing to such positions. Chinese workers are also reported to be paid more than their African counterparts. There are only a few projects undertaken by China that ultimately benefit African countries, such as building local capacities in education or healthcare. Many protests and cancellations of Chinese projects have been due to a lack of local employment opportunities and rising debt concerns. The clash affected the countries worldwide, and Africa has hit significantly hard. The countries relying on securing additional funding had cut off, and Uganda had to pay the price. That's it for today. What are your views on the Chinese trap of utilizing projects for economic gain? Share your opinion in the comments below. See you next time.